Hey guys, just stopping off to sit on the graffitied out steps to have a Starbucks. I am in downtown Portland. See, that's Louis Vuitton graffitied out over that way. Tiffany's graffitied out that way. He's smiling. I'm always smiling, you know this. This is my backdrop as where I'm just sitting, enjoying my Starbucks. But I went and grabbed a Starbucks from the Starbucks that had its windows like broken out during the New Year's Eve riots that were, 2-3 days ago. So I just popped into the city for the weekend. It was a very quiet night, nothing. Where's my hockey helmet? It didn't fit in my suitcase. But yeah, I just popped in over the weekend because I was following everybody on Twitter and saw that there's stuff going down here. It was a very quiet night. I only had one night here. I'm heading to DC on a red eye tonight. And let me see this thing. Sorry, just moving my stuff out of the way. But it was a quiet night. Nothing was going on last night in, hey Devon. Nothing was going on in the city last night. I did stay at the AC Downtown Hotel, which is like right where all the action was happening the night before. It's like a 2-minute walk from the courthouse. And yeah, so just going live now, and I'll just take you guys along with what I'm seeing. All right. Okay, let me put my backpack back on. Yeah, I got accommodations already set in DC. Made those a little while ago. My accommodations have not been canceled. What's interesting is there's I saw online there's going to be a protest at the Holiday Inn in Alexandria. I don't know why they're going all the way out there to protest. Basically they're saying like, oh, the Holiday Inn is hosting fascists, so we need to go and protest there. But it's all the way in Alexandria, which is like a half hour outside of DC. But I'm gonna go and check that out tomorrow. I'm taking the red eye, so I will be getting into DC pretty early. All right, you guys want to go for a walk around downtown? Aw, thanks, Crystal Judy. Yeah, I probably do need somebody to walk around with me. I am going around by myself, but I mean, nothing's going on, so it's been fine. All right, I'm gonna take you guys over to the Justice Center. It's probably about like a 3-minute walk. Let's go over that direction. Thank you, Crystal Judy. Oh, my beloved Tiffany & Co. Whoever's decorating these days. It's probably the worst window displays I've ever seen of Tiffany, right? I'm gonna walk by this way. So everything's just boarded up. Okay, I agree with you. I should be wearing a helmet. I mean, not at this very minute, but probably other questionable times I've found myself in, right? Oh, the first I ran into. Sorry, I'm like handling my gimbal and my Starbucks at the same time. So to answer your question, the first I ran into was actually the drug addicts. I took the light metro rail to get into the city from the airport, and like a guy gets onto the metro rail, sits across from me, just whips out his bag with a syringe and some other stuff that I have no idea what was in there. And he just starts pulling out the syringe, and I was like, oh Lord, and I just walked away. But that was my first impression of the city, just taking the metro rail. I was considering taking a Uber, but I mean, I gotta be conscious of costs when I'm traveling, because I do self-fund. And so and also I do feel like the public transportations are the lifelines of a city, and I'm looking to get to know a city. So I actually don't take Ubers all that often unless I have to. I like to take public transportation. So I stayed over here, AC Hotel, Portland. And the first thing I noticed when I went to open the door, I got here probably around 2 o'clock yesterday. When I went to open the door of the hotel, the lobby was closed, and they have somebody open the door for each individual person who doesn't have a card, which is good, safety precautions. All right, guys, give me a second. I'm gonna put this gimbal in my backpack so that way I have at least an extra arm. Adam. It does look like the third world. And the sad part was I saw a father taking his 3-year-old out on a bicycle, teaching her how to use a bike, and I was just watching them, cute little girl and the dad, and I'm like, damn, because this is a community, this is where people live and everything, and to be this is your backdrop, it's gang symbols to see all of the. I just learned that ACAB, all cops are bastards. That's a new phrase for me. I mean, this whole world of everything that's going on is very new to me. I mean, the first time I encountered Antifa was in November 14th in DC. Before that, I was just, seeing whatever everybody else was seeing on the news media. Even still to this day, my brother, even though he's the footage that I've put out there, I ask him about Antifa, and he keeps saying, oh, Antifa's just an idea. And I'm like, you serious? You see what I see, and you still think it's just an idea. And to think just yesterday, Ted Wheeler had finally come out and, identified Antifa as the ones responsible for the violence. A little bit late on that, but at least better late than never, right? All right. So this is the courthouse over here. Yeah, I'm gonna walk by I'm gonna go by a couple of the parks. Oh, thank you, Devon. All right, so this is right here, the courthouse. So all the footage that we saw on Twitter the other day was just happening outside of here. I'm not sure where they burned down or melted down the garbage can. Kill cops. Yeah, it does look as scary by day as it is at night. So I did take footage last night. I'll be putting that together into a video for YouTube. Last night was all rainy. Oh my God, it was so miserable to be out. I did like a rounds around like 8 p.m. and then I did another rounds around like 11. Oh, somebody's yelling over there. So you'll see a couple of homeless tents. Yeah, at least it's not raining. You'll see a couple homeless tents in this park. So what we're seeing right now here in Portland, this is going to be the future of all of our cities under a Biden presidency. I mean, we don't need Portland. Just let them like succeed from the US, right? All right, throwing away my Starbucks. Fuck your fence. Fuck your fence. I don't know, there's no fence around here with signs for me to pull down. Thank you, there will not be a Biden prez. We're all going to be in DC, right? To protest on January 6th. All right, we're out by the tree. Some things I can't read. Oh, I recognize this girl. This is the girl that was yelling earlier. ACAB. All cops are bastards. All right, there's the Justice Center. So most of the action always focuses around like this park, around the Justice Center, the courthouse over that way. We're gonna take a walk over to City Hall that's boarded up even up to the 2nd floor. Crazy. Earlier there were a group of people that were over here, so, you know, since I'm non-confrontational, I walked away from them. But they were over here just like banging on drums, no clue. And then the girl that I pointed out earlier on the skateboard was like just yelling at one of the guys and like saying like, don't take my drums away. She had to be high off of something. And then, so we got the tree. I assume this is the tree. It's missing lights and everything, isn't it? I hope it's, you know, hopefully it won't be like in, who was it in Germany when they set the tree on fire? Let's see. So we got a couple of homeless tents over here. Oh, the girl that was on the skateboard's looking at me. Oh. As long as she's walking the opposite direction, right? Oh, I know, like stepping foot in this place, you feel like you're just gonna get an STD. All right, that's City Hall in front of me. City Hall. So you can see it's boarded up to the second floor window or whatever. Well, I hadn't known much about Portland beforehand, but I mean, it was called the Rose City for a reason. It's supposed to be beautiful. And actually, when I looked up like the tourist stuff to do, granted everything's closed, but they have a lot of, you know, like nice sights to see. I mean, granted the sights I'm seeing right now definitely ain't so nice, but there you have it, City Hall. Yeah, I have to agree with it. This is the calm before the storm. I mean, you know, I got in here yesterday midday, and then I'm leaving tonight, so it was just a quick pop over. I remember the days I would pop over to Paris from the US just for under 48 hours, and now I'm popping over to Portland. Lowered expectations, but you know, I like to go out to different places to see what's going on really in our cities, and because what you see on the mainstream media is not what's going to be out there. So I do my best to kind of now just try to document, even if it's as simple as right here on my iPhone. And yeah, so we'll continue to just give you guys some footage of what's going on. Granted, like I'm here in Portland when it is that calm before the storm, and nothing's going on. Nothing happened last night. My view from actually my window at the AC hotel, I could actually see over some of the streets. So I felt like I was staking things out, because I kept like popping out the window, like, is anything going to go on? Because last 2 nights, you know, where the city was rioting. So I didn't know if that was going to spill into the weekend. You know, good thing it didn't. But I think we are going to see more, acts of riots and violence following the 6th. I mean, we'll see. We're all in for a ride, aren't we? So that's why I went and got my Starbucks earlier. They smashed the door. I'll just do a quick walkthrough. I mean, things are not repaired, but bandaged up right now. Yes, Trump 2020. So the commies smashing the doors. Exactly. I know, commies smashing the doors of other commies. They smashed my Starbucks. And you guys know I'm like a former commie, right? I voted for Sanders during the Florida primaries. I just can't, I was looking at the first protest I ever had attended. It was against fracking over in Albany. I took a bus up to Albany from New York City and went and protested fracking. I was like, how old was I? I was like 25 at the time. I didn't even know what fracking was, but I just understood. It was like, oh, it's not good for the environment, and people are just, gathering more wealth from fracking, and it's bad for the environment. So go green, go green. Green is an awesome color to be trending, anyways, right? But you know how times have changed. I had my wake-up moment really in the beginning of August, after 2 months of researching and paying attention, and just the cognitive dissonance kicking in when you actually listen and watch full reports and full Trump press conferences. When you do that, it's like, wait a second, that's not exactly what's going on. And then I was getting so frustrated earlier when I was watching Fox. Fox. I didn't like them before, and I don't like them now. But so Fox was reporting of how many deaths are going to be going on in the U.S. because of COVID, how many cases and everything, and how, all the mass numbers are super, super, super increasing. And then, the whole it's a fake pandemic. It is, from my own experience, from being out there, from the experience I've had with my family firsthand, and what's going on with COVID. So they're blowing up the numbers, saying how all these deaths are going to be occurring from COVID, and then they talk about the congressman-elect of Louisiana, who had just passed a couple of days ago. So he's being reported as a COVID death. I don't know if you guys know this, but he died from a heart attack related to an operation that he had. So they're reporting it, saying that he went into the ICU on December 18th, and then he's died now. 41-year-old without any prior existing conditions, just drops dead from COVID. That's not the case. He had a heart attack related to an operation he had. And even Fox News, you have to find it on, I talked about it with Nathan from Dream Floral a couple of days ago, but you can find the New York Post article about it. And then you can see how sorry, losing my train of thought. You can see how if you start looking on YouTube for how he died, you'll see other channels have 20 views, 50 views, very small amount of views on how he actually died by heart attack. But then when you go to the mainstream sources of the media that's on YouTube, it's hundreds of thousands of views of reports of him dying by COVID. So this thing's being blown up so much is all I can say. I mean, amongst other things I'll say. All right, another view of the park. This is a lot nicer when you're further away. Oh wait, just kidding. There's City Hall all boarded up. I was trying to pay the city a compliment, but that just failed. Thank you. Polish lives do matter. Bring me the pierogies. Okay, we're gonna walk up here by the Justice Center, and then I'm gonna hang a left, cross back through the park, and go back into like the shopping area of downtown. So when I first was checking into the hotel and just having like casual chit chat with the lady, she's like, "Oh, why are you here?" And I'm thinking, to document like whatever's going on with the debauchery in the city. I didn't say that, but I was like, visiting a friend. No, I don't have any friends here. Well, I don't know so much about like proud girls, but I'm definitely a proud American and a proud Polipino, proud Polish, proud Pinay. And I do believe in the concepts of like Western culture. Is the West the best? Yeah, I do. I've been to 57 countries and I've lived abroad. And I can tell you, there is no place like home. There's no place like America. You will not have the freedoms that we have anywhere in the world. And that's what we were here fighting to make sure we keep those, because they're looking to strip those away. Okay. We're gonna cross back through the park. They were handing out free Bibles over there earlier. Yeah, that's true. So what we see going on is that they're counting COVID deaths that are caused by other reasons, but if the person was COVID positive at that time, that's when they are being counted as a COVID death. So like with the Louisiana congressman-elect, his death's being counted as a COVID death and being reported as a COVID death in the media because he was COVID positive at the time that he had passed away. But yeah, he died of a heart attack. And God bless him and his family and everything, and I'm not taking away from that. But of course, like it's this amount of fear mongering that's going on to make people be afraid of COVID. So when I say that COVID is a hoax, I don't mean that like people don't get sick from it, because people do get sick from it. It affects people differently all the way across. Why I call it a hoax and a fake pandemic is, yeah, you have a 95, I don't want to misspeak the statistic, but over 99% chance of survival from this thing. So when we're locking down the economies, that's, as Trump will say, the cure cannot be worse than disease. So that is irresponsible to be making everybody unemployed from this. I say if you're in a vulnerable population, if you're elderly or if you have a comorbidity, yes, take the precautions necessary you need to stay away. But if you're young and able, like, you should be out there working and keeping the economy going. This is like a boat. We need to all like do our roles and our part to get through this. And when I say it's a hoax is because this is not something that came from nature. The vector of like this bat crap doesn't exist in nature. It was forced upon us. And now that being the case, yes, we have to deal with it, but it's not by laying down and giving up our liberties. The parachute doesn't open, yeah. All right, let's walk over this way so you guys can see more from this direction. fuck PPA, fuck PPB, the police state must fall, anarchy. So when I was talking to some friends who were educating me about the difference between like the anti-fascist movement between like Portland and DC. So my understanding, and I hope I'm not misspeaking when I'm reiterating the information, is that so in Portland people here are more like for anarchy, and that's why you see like more of like the destruction. They're anti-government anarchy all the way, versus like in DC they're more of that idea of fighting fascism. The irony is like, so when you say you're like anti-fascist but you're using suppressive methods, you are therefore being fascist, because if you're opposing people, using suppression of the opposition with terror, with fear, with to get anybody who has a different opinion than your own, like that's a fascist action. So how can you be anti-fascism if you're employing fascist methods? So what we often see as what they're fighting on the left side, it's it's just the same as like, oh, anti-racism is actually racism. And that's part of like the qualms that I have with the actions of Black Lives Matter, because if you're going to be using like racist methods to try and combat racism, it's just reverse racism to be racist against whites. And I was saying to somebody on my Facebook the other day, like, she's a white girl, so I'm like living in New York, and so when I posted some violence that was, you all saw like the people who were jumping on the cars. Definitely it's a third world city, a third world country. So the video footage of in New York a couple days ago with the people like that, just street child, their children, their moms really need to give them a good smacking on the way to juvie hall. But the kids that were jumping on the cabs, on the cab, first on a BMW and a cab, like so she posted like in defense of that. I'm like, how could you post a defense on, because like it was just street violence, unprovoked street violence that had occurred. And I'm like, I lived in New York for 8 years, so I'm like, my gem, beautiful of a city, now reduced to a shithole. So when I posted it, she was like, oh, if you don't like New York, then leave. And I'm like, that's the same kind of like attitude that whenever like I came across other like BLM protesters or Antifa people, they see me and they're like, oh, if you don't like the country, then leave. I'm like, just because I'm brown, are you making the assumption I wasn't born here? Isn't that like racist in itself? And so when she's like, oh, if you don't like New York, just leave, I'm like, that kind of attitude is just completely perplexing for me. All right, so more closed-up buildings. All right, back over this way. All right, let's walk down this way, see what kind of signage we got here. Up. Let's cross. I'm a New Yorker. We always jaywalk, right? Cops eat shit and die, please. Exactly. It's no excuse to burn, loot, and murder. BLM, right? That's the thing. Nobody has an excuse. Nobody, like, you might be angry and you can express that anger. That's, your freedom of expression, of course, is protected. But when it crosses the line of damaging to either a person's body or to their property, no one has the right to do that. No one has the right to do that. So it's not, when I listen to like the BLM arguments, and they say like, oh, I understand where the anger is coming from, so that's why I won't condemn their actions for vandalism or violence or any of it. I'm like, I understand where it's coming from too. We all understand where it's coming from, but that doesn't make it justified to then cause harm onto other people. And then especially when you're doing this to your own community. Like, common sense is not so common these days, is it? Stolen land, stolen people. See, I disagree with the concept of reparations. If, you know, an injustice has happened in the past, yes, it's happened. I'm not saying we should get over it, but what are we going to do about it going forward into the future? And that's what we should be concentrating on. A couple broken glasses. So in downtown, they have a couple murals that are painted over the boarded up area. So I'm going to take you on a little walking tour of that space. Mike T, for the evidence, I recommend that you watch the public hearings. I do have them posted on my, a couple of them posted onto my YouTube page of Arizona public hearings, the Georgia public hearings. The Georgia one's pretty interesting because that's where they actually present like the video evidence of, you know, of them having everybody leave and then the suitcases magically appearing underneath the tables around like after 11 p.m. when everyone left. And so that amongst, you know, the hundreds of witness testimony of what's going on, that's where the evidence is. So when you ask, show me the evidence, I would just direct you to be looking to the public hearings, because you'll see a lot of evidence there. My brother was even, like, my brother says the same thing, like, oh, if Biden cheated, where's the evidence? And when I point him to look at the hearings, I asked him, did you watch even a minute of the public hearings? And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, you're asking me to point you to the evidence or show you the evidence. I'm pointing where it is. I did my research. I took the time. I watched almost all of the entire public hearings, and I went to Stop the Steal in Georgia. I went to Stop the Steal in DC and to Arizona. So the evidence is out there. We're trying to put it into your face, but the legislatures are refusing to listen to it. That's why we have so many Stop the Steal rallies, and that's why January 6th is so important for all patriots to be coming into DC and demanding for the evidence to be heard. Correct. They were smart about it. They did. It's not widespread election fraud that's been occurring from like across all of the states. They knew which ones were going to be the swing states, and they targeted those specifically. And so when you look, I remember watching on like election day and the following week when it was looking at like the county by county map, and it's like all red, and the area that's being contested would be just the area that in a sense needed to be contested for all of them. So they were specific to target it. It wasn't widespread from every state that had large scale like voter and election fraud. It was specifically these key battleground states. Okay, so I'm back to where I had started our little downtown walk down tour. And so here you're gonna see, you know, murals that are painted. You can argue whether or not you define them as art or graffiti. That's up to you guys. Ooh, somebody's painting over some stuff. Tiffany & Co. I love Tiffany's. All right. Yeah, so when I was also checking in the other day, she's like, oh, are you here for shopping? I'm like, yes. Let's go check out Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuittoni? Yeah, me and him are best buddies. This must be like chalk paint. Yeah, it's chalk. Good people matter. Is it Apple Store? Cross back over here. Let's see what they have to say. Apple stands with you in the fight for racial and social justice because Black Lives Matter. The community artwork will be preserved for future display. Not sure which part they're referring to as the community artwork, but okay. All right, so guys, let's go check out some of the murals that are around here. I will call them murals. Others may call them artwork. Others may refer to them as graffiti. The 24-hour Church of Elvis still in Portland? I don't know. This was such a short trip. So I didn't do anything touristic really other than just walk around here. So this is, you know, my first trip to Portland, but it won't be my last. Pioneer Place, that's what we're looking at. Oh, yeah. I'm glad it's not raining today. It was definitely horrible last night. Like I said, I have footage of me walking around last night, so it looks a little scarier at night, but I mean, I was okay. But I'll post that and put that together. Maybe I'll just do, I'm gonna start doing, I'll get a gimbal so that way I can start doing more like live streams for you guys. It'll cut down the time for editing, of course, and it's nice to be able to interact with everybody who does tune in and be able to answer questions I see like live. Let's see, Scotch and soda. Let's cross the street over here. Oh wait, I'll hang a loop. Let's see. Come on, man. Just to make you smile. My little sister can spell better than these fruitcakes. All right, we'll walk back in that direction a little bit, but let's go this way. Actually, I kind of like this one, not gonna lie. Liberty and death? Portland is Twitter IRL, yeah. Liberty and death. Nobody talks about Jim Floyd. I don't know who Jim Floyd is. Anybody know? I know, Liberty got cake. I like me fat bottom girls, right? I'm obsessed with Queen, by the way. Sephora, boarded up. Scary, man. This is J. Crew over here. Yeah, it is the city of hell on earth. God, I feel so bad for the people who live here. And you just hear all this, you hear like, if they dare to speak up against these anarchists in their society or in their community, they're targeted to have their businesses burned. All right, let's go up a little bit closer to see these murals. You can't separate peace from freedom because no one can be at peace unless he has his freedom. That's interesting. We got the all-seeing eye pyramid. Isn't that like an Illuminati symbol? Anarchy! Mike T probably lives rent-free in the bottom of his mother's basement, actually, here in Portland. Super Mario paints. What do you think? Do you guys like to, like, all right, so the places have to be boarded up. Do they look better just boarded up or with murals and paintings? Granted, there you have layers of graffiti on top of that too, but would you rather see it just plainly boarded up or with these murals in front of them?